Millie can start us off, I think.
Yeah. Okay, great. So yeah, welcome to this presentation Q&A about Camp 100. Um, as you can see on the first slide, some basic info just to remind you. So the camp will be from the 27th of July to the 6th of August. But there's also a 3-day option at the beginning of camp for the first 3 days and a 7-day option at the end of camp for the last 7 days. We don't expect lots of internationals to do that, but just in case that suits any of you better, especially coming from Europe, I guess. Um, it will be at Kelmarsh Hall, which is in the middle of England, the same site as Common Ground. And we're going to run coaches from nearby stations, from a few different ones this time. We're kind of planning it so that we're going to run coaches from different stations depending on where you're coming from. So some stations that are better if you're coming from the north, or some that are better if you're coming from the southeast. So yeah, when you've booked your travel, or when you're booking your travel, if you want to chat to us about that, we can tell you like which station it makes sense to go to from the specific airport or train station or whatever it is you arrive into the UK. But yeah, if you fly to Luton Airport, we actually even have training carriages booked specifically for craft from Luton Airport at certain times. Um, we're expecting about 1,500 to 2,000 participants from both Woodcraft Folk and affiliated organisations all around the world. And our theme is the next 100 years because it's our centenary. But we don't want to do too much. I mean, it's nice to celebrate, to look back at what we've achieved, but we also want to look forward and think about the world we can create together. So how does camp work? This map's from Common Ground, so it's not quite accurate. I thought about putting a new one in, but it's still kind of a bit of a messy draft, so I thought it'd be better to stick with this one. Um, so yeah, on this map, a tent represents a village of around 100 people. And that will be made of at least one UK group and hopefully at least one international group. There might not be international groups in every village this time, but we'll definitely have international groups in every town, at least a few of them. Um, and in their villages, people eat, they sleep, they help with the chores, and they'll do some activities. Um, then we have our towns. So our towns are the different colours on the map. This is one of the things that's going to be quite different at Camp 100 to how it was at Common Ground. We're only going to have 3 towns probably this time. There might be 4 if we get a lot of bookings, but we're expecting 3. And so we'll have a bit more space. We're going to get rid of that orange town. And the yellow and the green one are going to be kind of smushed together so they have a bit more space. It looks on this map like the blue one then wouldn't have much space, but actually the site goes a lot further in that direction. So yeah, lots of space this time. And yeah, in your towns, there will be a library in each town. So that's a space for kind of meeting people. There'll be some activities, there'll be some resources that you can use. And we'll talk a bit more about that later. Um, as well as the main camp program, which will be in the central area, which, as you can see, is quite in the middle, so it's not too far from anyone. Um, and yeah, there's going to be a program in the central area as well.
Thanks, Millie. So, who is going to join us at Camp 100? As Millie said, we're going to have around 1,500, 2,000 people there, hopefully. That'll be made up of the majority of people coming from woodcraft groups around the UK. But we're hoping to have around 150, 200, maybe, be positive and optimistic, campers from other countries as well. So we've already got groups from all over the UK booked in, Denmark, Czech Republic, Peru, some other groups that are pending visas and waiting to hear whether those are going to be confirmed. If there's already a UK group that the international groups have links with, maybe people that you camped with before, maybe groups that you've got links with from other events or other camps, it'd be great if you could let us know so that we can make it happen for you to camp together and continue to build on that relationship. If you don't make any request, or this is maybe your first Woodcraft Folk International Camp or first IFM International Camp, then we will put you with a group where the young people within your groups may be match in age, or there are people who speak similar languages, or different kind of, or there are UK groups who maybe have more equipment to share. So be good to know if there is any preference there, and also what the language need within the group is and how much translation might be needed as we get closer to the camp and whilst we're at camp itself. What are we going to do at Camp 100? Probably the most important question. We're all going to hopefully make some new friendships and also build on some friendships that we've already got. We're going to explore big ideas together, cooperation, peace. We'll talk a bit more about the topics of big ideas that we can explore a bit later. We're going to share cultures. So from all of the different countries and cultures and backgrounds of people coming, hopefully we can share some ideas around food, dancing, singing, share different games that people play within their organizations across the world. And we can share some from Woodcraft Folk as well. As Millie mentioned, our central program happening in the central area is going to run every other day. And then on the other days, we'll have program activities, games, workshops in our villages and our towns. So it'll be a real time to get to know people who are in your village and your town. And then those central days, you can meet people from a bit further afield, and people who aren't sleeping in your village. Millie, tell us a bit about what the daytime program will entail.
Thank you. Yeah. So as Lauren said, there'll be central program on alternating days, and on the other days, there'll be time for you to create your own program in the villages and towns, or to share things that others have created. So most of the central program in the daytime will be in centres. And those are tents with a theme that run around activity, the run activities based around that theme. And so I'll show you exactly what those themes are on the next slide, but there's like lots of different choices there, depending on what your young people are interested in. There'll also be a wide game, which is like a big simulation game, which will run in towns. So that will there'll be one village day where your town has the wide game. And then there'll also be camp democracy workshops and some other initiatives to make sure that the young people have their say in what happens on camp, but also that they have a chance to kind of develop perhaps some campaigns to use in the outside world, to influence what happens there too. And as we mentioned before, the town libraries will be a really useful resource in the towns, where there will be perhaps some sports equipment, some books, some workshops written down with the resources, so that you can kind of go there and get some help with things to run in your villages or in your towns, as well as like organize your own things in those libraries. So this is the list of centres. We have the STEM Centre, which is science, technology, engineering, and maths. We have the Solidarity Centre, which is kind of like lots of different social justice issues. We have Messed Up, which is a project run by the young people in Woodcraft, all to do with kind of mental health and intoxicating substances, and kind of learning how to be a good friend, how to all those kinds of things. We also have the Escape Room, which is a really exciting new one for this camp, where if you don't know what that is, it's kind of a game where you work together to complete tasks in order to escape a room, or in this sense, I assume it will be a tent. We have the Trade Union Centre, which I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Might be called like Sindicato or things like that in other languages. We have the Bushcraft Centre. Bushcraft is like kind of survival skills for the outdoors. So like making fires, making things with wood, that kind of thing. We have the Peace and Conflict Centre, which, yeah, I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. The Media Centre, where young people will be helped to make videos about whatever they want, really, but they can make them about camp, they can make them about something that's important to them, and then we will all watch them in the news every evening. We have the Ecology Centre, the Underground Printing Press, where you can print things, Arts and Crafts, where you can, of course, make things, Radio, which will have lots of regular shows going on from the people running it, but also there'll be a chance for young people to create their own radio shows. Um, there'll be a centre for 12s and under. So that centre will always have activities for young people aged 12 and under, but also all the other centres will be running a few things for those age groups too. And we'll have the cinema, which is obviously just a place you can go and watch films. So lots and lots of things going on in the central area in the daytime. Um, and then in the evening, we have more things going on. So actually, this will start in the afternoon this time, the kind of evening program or the main stage program. So that there'll be a bit more for the youngest kids to enjoy. Like maybe there'll be some magic shows or some like bands that are kind of a bit more aimed at really young children. Um, and then yeah, the first thing that will happen after dinner every night, just not just on central program days, is the news, like I mentioned, where we watch the videos made by the young people. There'll also be main stage program, which on alternate evenings there will be bands or DJs, or we always do a ceilidh, which is like a traditional Scottish dance, which is really fun. And everyone can join in because it's like kind of thing where they tell you what to do as you do it, basically. So it's not like you have to know how to do this dance to do it. Also maybe a drag show. We have all sorts of kinds of things as the evening program. Um, there'll also be this time an evening cafe that will be open late in the central area so that young people have somewhere to go and just hang out and chill, play board games, buy drinks and snacks. So if they're not so into being in the main stage tent and dancing, there's still something a bit more chill to do with their friends. And then there'll be a pub tent, which will be for over 18s only. And that's the only place in the central area people can drink alcohol. And then on the days where we don't have central evening program, groups will be encouraged to plan their own things with the help of their town librarians. People can have campfires because there'll be fire pits shared between different villages. And you'll also be able to book the town library space to run events. It's quite common that international delegations like to run some kind of cultural evening, and those are really popular. It's really nice to see like traditional dances or maybe eat some traditional food and things like that. That's always really lovely to do. So yeah, there'll be a lot of space to kind of create your own things in the evening should you wish.
Thanks, Millie. So I mean, they're all important parts of camp, but one of my favourite parts of camp, what we're going to eat when we get there. Everybody always worries about that sort of thing. So at Camp 100, breakfast, lunch, dinner, some snacks, kind of tea, coffee, and some drinks provided by the camp team. So we will all run across camp on a sustainable menu. So this might involve a bit less meat than you're used to, but it'll still be delicious and healthy and balanced and keep us all energized for the activities that we're going to get up to at camp. Really good time to try a new diet if you haven't tried so much kind of vegetarian food in the past. So there'll be a hot breakfast option as well as the kind of cold bread, cereal on most days. So there might be porridge, there could be some cooked eggs, there could be some other kind of cooked items to have for breakfast. Lunch will mainly be something easy that people can just grab in the middle of the day. So maybe some soup, sandwiches, depending on what the weather's like. I think soup, when it's very hot, might change to sandwiches. So that's good. Dinner will be our kind of biggest meal of the day because that's how we do things in the UK. So our big meal, hot meal like curry, pasta, burgers with a dessert afterwards will be in the evening. So we aim at Camp 100 that we'll be able to cater for all diets. Any allergies that you have, any dietary requirements, make sure that these are in the booking system when you make your booking so that we can cater for everybody and make sure that there's something for everybody to eat. So don't worry if you feel like you have a complicated diet. It's always best to get in touch with us, and our food team are really keen to help everybody be able to access our menu at camp. What makes this camp so special? Well, it's Woodcraft Folk Centenary, so we're celebrating 100 years of being a fantastic organisation for young people and bringing wonderful experiences to young people here in the UK. And what better way to celebrate that than inviting our international friends to join us, many of whom have spent a lot of our 100-year history doing great things with us. As Millie mentioned, the under 12s will be well catered for with activities whilst we're at camp. There's a urban myth that international camps are only for older young people, but we're really making an effort to put activities in place and make sure that there are lots of things for young people under 12 to engage with. There's also a team working on youth participation, so planning how young people can bring change to our camp and make it accessible for everybody, no matter how old you are or which country you come from around the world. We're focusing this year on volunteer and group leader well-being. So we have also a designated team to ensure that everybody is coming to camp to sort of take part in their work with young people, also to have some rest and also to have some time to play and enjoy themselves as well. It's a camp for young people. We don't want our adults to be burnt out by the end. What's different about Woodcraft camps that might not be the same across different organisations? At Woodcraft camps, everybody contributes to the community, so everybody helps with the cooking, the washing up, making sure that our site is clean and safe for everybody. So that might be something that's different to what people are used to, but there will be lots of Woodcraft folk groups there to help support us in how we do that and sharing how we run our groups, our clan groups of how people do that cooking and clearing away as well. At Woodcraft Folk, we do everything by our sort of cooperative values. The more we can share different tasks whilst we're living in our beautiful community in the field, the less people will feel burnt out or like they're not enjoying themselves. So we share all of the things that need to be done in the hope that we're not leaving one or two people to do everything. Millie's going to talk to us now a little bit about the practicalities of coming to the UK and coming to Camp 100.
Yeah, so luckily for most people coming from Europe, if you're coming from the EU, you will not need a visa to just come for like less than 3 months, which obviously for camp you will be. But from April, you actually will need an ETA, unfortunately. So it is just one extra little thing. It's not super complicated and the application should take long and it should actually be approved straight away. But we would recommend that you apply as soon as your flights are booked, just in case. And it does have that added cost of £10. So just to make sure you're factoring that into your plans, there will be an extra £10 per person. £10 about like, I don't know, 12 euros, 13 euros. So yeah, you'll need to pay that extra per person to make sure they can enter the UK. Of course, ID cards aren't accepted at the border anymore, so you will need a valid passport, every participant. And also, we just ask that you check that the nationalities of different people in your group. It might not be that everyone has a passport from the country you're in. And if they have some kind of refugee travel document or a passport from a different country, they might still need to apply for a visa. So please let us know if that's the case, and we will make sure that we send you our visa guidance and that we send you the letter of invitation and all the stuff that you would need in that case. So in terms of travel, I mentioned this a bit at the beginning, but yeah, we recommend that you travel overland or you fly to Luton, East Midlands, or Birmingham if you can. Those airports are the easiest to get to site from, the closest to site. If you can't do that, if there aren't good cheap flights from where you are, we would recommend Stansted. And failing that, there are other London airports like Gatwick and Heathrow. It's just those are kind of like on the other side of London, so it takes a bit longer to get to site from there. And yeah, trains are quite expensive in the UK, so you also want to book those in advance generally. But obviously leaving a lot of time just in case there's delays at passport control. Like I mentioned earlier, there's going to be shuttle buses from a few different nearby stations, and even some carriages of trains if you're coming to camp from Luton Airport or through London. And there'll be more info on that in the spring. But let us know if you needs some help planning your travel, we're very happy to help with that. We can also talk about which station it's best to go to if you want to book your trains really early to keep them cheap. We can do that very soon. So yeah, let us know if you want any help with that. So another couple of things that are always important when you're going to another country, healthcare and phones, big thing now. So EHIC cards are actually still useful in the UK. So if you have an EHIC card, a European health insurance card, that's really useful to bring. But we do recommend you also get travel insurance. We can't do anything about lost luggage or flight cancellations, unfortunately. So yeah, if you get travel insurance, you'll be covered for those things. Another really important thing is to be clear on the roaming charges, on the charges that there might be to use your phone in the UK. So make sure your participants, especially if you're bringing teenagers, which a lot of people often do, and your leaders know that it might not be free to use your phone in the UK. And some providers from other countries it is. But it might not be free. So you should check before you use it in case you get a massive phone bill at the end. And because of that, we will have some Wi-Fi at camp, and we are going to try and kind of make it so that internationals get priority in using that. Because obviously people from the UK can talk to home more easily with their own data. But it will be limited, unfortunately, because we are having to bring in all the infrastructure ourselves. It should be enough for messaging or calling home, but we won't be able to like stream or like do like Zoom meetings or anything like that. And yeah, in order for you to use your phones, we're also working on plans for a central charging station. I know there were some issues with the one last time, and so this time we're probably going to have it like where the stewards HQ is, so that the stewards will oversee that and there won't be any worry about people taking the wrong phone or anything like that.
Thanks, Millie. So just coming to the end of the presentation now, talking about the volunteers that we're still looking for to help. So Camp 100, apart from myself and Millie, is completely run by volunteers, and our wonderful volunteers do a great job in bringing everything together. But we are still looking for a few people to help us. So if you have an interest in sound and stage and setting up a sort of main stage area for music and performances, if you're interested in facilitation for program or Camp Democracy, if you're interested in supporting adult wellbeing, accessibility, if you are somebody who speaks more than one language and would like to be a translator, it would be really good to hear from somebody like yourself or somebody in your group who might be able to support with some of that either before camp or once we're actually at Kelmarsh in the summer. So if you want to get involved with that, you can check out the Camp 100 website, or you can send an email to myself and Millie at info@camp100.org.uk, and then we can give you some more information. If you want any other information about camp, then the Camp 100 website is the place to be. So you can find on there international info packs that are translated into French and Spanish, and also available in English. You can find information on there about our frequently asked questions, so things that we have predicted that groups might want to know about the cost of camp, how to get there, lots of the stuff that we've talked about in this presentation. And as I say, you can also get in touch with myself and Millie at the info@email if you have any questions or suggestions. If you're more of a social media kind of person, we're also on Facebook and Instagram. I don't think that we're so much on the old Twitter anymore, but that one seems to be there. But yeah, definitely on Facebook, definitely on Instagram. You can either find them on these handles, or you can just look up the Woodcraft Folk Instagram or Facebook, and I'm sure you'll find a link there to the Camp 100 socials too. So what next? You've obviously got really excited from what me and Millie have told you this afternoon, whatever time we're on. So go away, talk to your organisations and your groups and find out who would like to come share all of this wonderful stuff, share with them the website. And then you need to head back to the website to register to book. We're encouraging the international groups, let us know as soon as possible that they would like to come. We don't need final numbers or names or anything like that, but it would be good to start matching up those groups with woodcraft folk groups and international groups as soon as we can, so that everybody just feels welcome and we know what the needs are of each group as we get closer. There's a booking guide that you can find on the website that's also been translated into English, French, and Spanish. That will help you with all of your sort of booking needs. Bookings officially close on the 18th of May. But as I say, it would be great if you could book as soon as possible so we can support you the best that we can and we can all plan for an amazing camp together. So get in touch with us if you need any help with booking. And here's a wonderful picture of Common Ground opening ceremony. And hopefully we'll be having a similar smiles on everybody's faces at Camp 100 this summer. And now, if anybody has any questions, I'm going to stop the recording, if I can. And then if anybody has any questions,